And now we get onto Apple TV Plus, and I will see whether I can make it through this review without having to run off and check on a toddler. but so this is Shrinking on Apple TV Plus. This is a show that stars Jason Segel, stars Jessica Williams, and Harrison Ford. So yes, Harrison Ford doing TV. And it is after I think he was in one of those Yellowstone things, and now he's in this one.
1923.
Yeah, 923. So, Shrinking is one of these shows that has like a bit. You know, you were talking about spoilers earlier, Sean. This show has a premise, and the way the show starts, the first scene of the show relies on you not knowing the premise of the show. But I'm kind of like, so there's been, I'm like, this opening scene of the show would be really, really effective if I didn't know what the show was about. But you need to know what the show is about to watch the show. So I don't understand why they did the first show of the show. Anyway, but you meet Jason Segel, and he is this guy who he's lost his wife recently. He has a teenage daughter, but he's lost his wife. And when you first meet him, he is by his swimming pool with two women who it seems that he doesn't really know that well. He is on some sort of drugs, and he's playing a whole bunch of Billy Joel. And his neighbor sort of comes in and tells him to keep it down. And as it goes on, it turns out that he lost his wife unexpectedly, and it's really sort of messed him up. It sends him into a spiral. However, the thing is that he is actually a psychiatrist, and that's where the title comes from, Shrinking. He's a psychiatrist, and it's about him trying to help his because of what he's been going through. He decides to almost sort of change and start trying to help his clients out in a different way, try to help his patients out in a different way, and then but what it really is it's a workplace comedy, because he's in this practice with Harrison Ford. Harrison Ford is the head of this medical practice, and Jessica Williams is the other partner in this thing. And it's all about, and some of the best scenes are where they just hang out and they're talking. They hang out and they're talking, and it seems like it's one of these shows where they have a premise at the beginning where, oh, this guy is spiraling, this guy has so much drugs and everything because his wife died, which they chuck really quickly. They chuck that really quickly. And it's almost as if they made a pilot where he was on drugs, and then they went and wrote the rest of the season and thought, you know what, we're going to soften that, or we're going to change that a bit. And so the rest of it is really about him trying to connect with his daughter, because his daughter is also grieving, but he hasn't noticed because he's been too busy in his own grief. And then there's flashbacks into his marriage and all that. There's the way he's trying to help his clients out and all, but it's really like it becomes like a sort of workplace character-based comedy, because one of his patients has anger management issues, has just come back from a tour has just come back from a tour with his he's in the army, where he keeps beating people up and he just gets into fights and all that kind of stuff, and it's about how he helps that guy, and somehow that guy ends up living in his house and all that kind of stuff. But I really like this. The main reason I really like this, I think, is the performances. I think Harrison Ford is brilliant, because Harrison Ford is just doing his, nowadays Harrison Ford seems to be almost like a professional grump. He's got to that stage where he's like a grumpy old man, and he's
gives so deadpan as well, isn't he?
Oh, so deadpan, so brilliantly deadpan, and some of his line delivery and the way he says things in this thing, and the way that they go with the fact that he's old, so he doesn't understand certain words or terms, and he uses them in the wrong way and all. I think it's just really, really well done. There's something to do with his relationship with his daughter in the show, and I think that because this is created by the guy who created Scrubs, who created Ted Lasso. And it's written by essentially it's pretty much the same creative team that did Ted Lasso did this. And you can see similar things with it, where it's like, it's really funny. It's about the interrelationships between all the different characters, but every now and then there'll be a bit of pathos and everything like that. But for me, the MVP of this show is Jessica Williams. Jessica Williams gives one of those performances that seem designed to make you fall in love with her. And I mean, and she is this kind of like mixture between, like, career woman who can go over there, and little girl, where where she's like, you buy that she is really, really competent at what she does, but some of her reactions, there is one particular scene where she ends up in Harrison Ford's house, and her facial expressions in that scene are just priceless. I mean, my brother's been watching this the same time as I've been watching it, and he's just kind of like, I'm so in love with her. I am just so in love with her. So yeah, I really like Shrinking. I would say watch it. As I say, I always have problems reviewing comedies, because it's a comedy drama. I always have problems reviewing comedies, but I'd say the cast is really good. The situations are quite good. There's some bits where they kind of make some characters friends because I feel like they just have to get them to be friends for this thing to go forward. But you kind of ignore that and let them have it. But just think that it's really, really good. And I would give Shrinking a 4 out of 5. I would say watch it on Apple TV Plus. I think I would say watch it for Jessica Williams, but also quite frankly, watch it for Harrison Ford, because Harrison Ford is actually, he's a lot of fun. He's a lot of fun in this role. So that's it. 4 stars for Shrinking on Apple TV Plus.